Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. And as always, it is an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite stuff, movies, TV, whatever it is you want to talk about. Now, here on Open Mic, our afternoon show, what we'd like to do is it's an open floor. We're talking about whatever topic you guys want to talk about for the entire hour. You want to talk about it, then that's what we're going to talk about. So just throw on in a comment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take comments from the Super Chat. That's the best way to get your questions on. If we run out of Super Chat questions towards the end of the show, then I will go over to Twitter as well. All right, guys, with that out of the way, let's dive into it. I've got an idea of a few things you guys might want to talk about today. Oh, I don't know. There's a certain trailer that got announced is coming out tomorrow. Maybe that'll come up. Let's see how long it takes for that to come up in the chat. All right. First question today comes to us from Rex Cousins, who writes, why do you think these websites are so hard on The Walking Dead? At least I think you mean The Walking Dead. I hate it when you guys use acronyms because I'm never 100% sure I know what you're talking about, but I think you mean The Walking Dead. After every episode, there are many reports just hammering it, while ignoring all the other TV shows. Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, The Walking Dead is very popular. More people want to hear about The Walking Dead. So whether it's good or bad. I remember a long period of time when every website, all they would do is talk about how great The Walking Dead is, how great The Walking Dead is, how great The Walking Dead is. Well, when things start to go bad, that means everybody's going to talk about what's wrong with The Walking Dead. What's wrong with The Walking Dead? What's wrong with The Walking Dead? Now, I've never been a major Walking Dead fan. I've watched the show. I've enjoyed the show, whatever. But I don't have a lot of skin in this game. But yeah, I mean, that's just the way it goes. When it's really popular, people want to talk about it. That means they're going to talk about it a whole ton when things are great. And you cannot deny that for a number of years, any entertainment site was wanting to talk about was Walking Dead, Walking Dead, Walking Dead's so great. Walking Dead's the best thing ever. Woo. And now that things are going bad, they're talking about the things that are bad. See, here's the thing. They do talk about the other shows. They just don't talk about the other shows as much because not as many people watch those other shows. So, here's the thing. Somebody would ask me, hey, John, there's this indie film from South Korea in 2001 and 18 people saw it. Can you do a review for it? And it's like, well, I'm not saying the movie's not worth reviewing, but what would be the point of me doing a review of that movie when none of my audience has seen it, none of my audience is going to be interested in seeing it, none of my audience, even if they wanted to see it, have a way to watch it. So even for somebody like me, it's like, I can't really talk about that. Now, I talk about 15 different topics every day on my show, but usually amongst those 15 topics will be one or two comic book movie topics, maybe three. So somebody may say, well, why are you always talking about comic book movies? Well, I talk about a lot of other things too, but the reason comic book movies come up quite a bit is because everybody watches comic book movies. So it's a common point of reference. Everybody is interested in comic book movies. People want to talk about these issues in comic book movies, or in these Star Wars movies, or in these big sci-fi movies, or in these big blockbuster things. So they're just the topics we all generally want to talk about. I'm sorry we're not talking about that 2001 South Korean independent film that 15 people saw, but my audience isn't interested in it. So if I make that video, a lot of people are going to watch it. So I tend to mostly talk, and you guys have heard me say this before, I mostly tend to talk about the films that you guys are seeing or are interested in seeing. That's why I focus most of my stuff on, because that's the audience, what the audience is interested in on my particular YouTube channel. Other YouTube channels might talk about other things, and that's what their audience is interested in. So with Walking Dead being such a big show, when things are going great, you're going to hear them all talk about how great it is. When things are going to go bad, you hear them all talking about how bad things are going, because so many people recognize the Walking Dead IP. Many people have watched The Walking Dead, whether they still do or they used to. Many people are interested about hearing about The Walking Dead. Whereas, I don't know, what's some little show on TV? I don't know, make one up. Eduardo the Dancing Dog. Okay, so there's this show on NBC, Eduardo the Dancing Dog, and it's got a 0.2 market share. Hardly anybody watches it. Are you going to do a lot of stories on that show? Probably not, because you don't have an audience for it. So that's probably why you hear a lot of stuff around The Walking Dead. Just my thoughts. I mean, there's other reasons as well, I'm sure, but that's just probably one of the big ones. All right, next up, Dark Knight 46K writes, finally, praise the Lord, Campea, we're finally getting that damn Infinity War trailer. Now I won't be able to sleep. Well, that didn't take long for us to get to the Infinity War trailer. Yes, if you guys saw on my YouTube channel earlier today, the Russo brothers put up on their Instagram that tomorrow the Infinity War trailer, the new one, drops. I don't even think it'll be the last one. I think we're going to get one more before the movie comes out. But anyway, the next Infinity War trailer drops tomorrow. Now, here's hoping with all the hype, it's not just a 45-second tease or a 1 minute and 10-second trailer. Hopefully, it's a good, solid 2+ minute trailer that gives us a great taste of what the movie is without giving away major key plot points. I'm not one of these people who thinks, oh my gosh, they showed the character drinking coffee. That's a spoiler. There are people out there who think everything that is shown in anything is a spoiler. I do not think that way. As long as it's not a major key plot point, then I'm cool with it. It's not a spoiler to me. They showed us Thanos fighting Hulk. That's a spoiler. But no, it's just, okay, a fight happens in the film between Thanos and Hulk. What the context is, what the narrative purpose of it is, how it resolves, none of that stuff we know. It's not a spoiler, but some people do consider it a spoiler. So I'm sure, I'm already prepared for this, that tomorrow after the Infinity War trailer drops, there's going to be a huge flood of tweets about how awesome it is. There's going to be a huge flood of tweets about it's complaining that it's filled with spoilers, even if it is or isn't. And there's going to be a huge number of other kind of reactions to it as well, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm excited for the trailer. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to get a little bit, I hope it gives me a little bit of a better idea about what's Thanos up to. And obviously, he's trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet, but why? I don't think they're going to go straight with the comic book reasons why. I think he's going to have his own thing. And I hope it's not just the mustache twirling, I just want to destroy everything for the sake of destroying it. I hope they come up with something that's a little bit more compelling than that for an on-screen villain. And I'm hoping they give us a little bit of insight into what Thanos' main motivation is. Why Earth? Why now? Besides just getting more of the stones. And why does he want the gauntlet? What's his purpose in wanting to rule the galaxy? All that kind of stuff. I want to see a little bit of that. And of course, I want to see some of the flash bang boom action as well. That's always loved seeing that kind of stuff in a trailer. So it's coming tomorrow. I don't know what time tomorrow's coming. I don't know if it's going to come out before the John Campea show airs tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to come out afterwards. You know I'll do a review for the trailer for sure. But hang on to your hats, guys. The trailer's coming tomorrow. All right. Degoto writes, when are we getting the Infinity War trailer? Just joking. Very funny. As most of you guys know, I've been getting that question every single day for weeks. When are we getting the Infinity War trailer? When's the Infinity War trailer? When's the Infinity War trailer? It's tomorrow. So now we can all just rest assured it's coming tomorrow. All right, let's move on. The next one comes to us from Orange Hand, who writes, I think talent should matter over gender and race when it comes to movies and TV, but I acknowledge we haven't reached that point yet. Is irrelevance towards gender and race in this industry achievable? Yeah, it's achievable. It's absolutely achievable. We will get there when, to paraphrase the great Dr. Martin Luther King, there will come a day when the quality of a filmmaker's talent will be seen first and not the color of their skin or whether they've got a dick or not. That's not word for word Dr. Martin Luther King, but it's a paraphrase of what he said. That day will come. It will come. But it's a tough thing right now. There are still, look, it still exists. We're making strides in the right direction, but we still exist in a period of time where women just get excluded out of a lot of stuff just because they're women. We talked about this the other day. It was funny. On the John Campea show we mentioned, I got this email from this guy, and who probably meant well. And you know what? Upon watching it, I probably came across harder on him as an individual than I meant to. Sometimes I can do that and I get carried away, and I shouldn't. And I feel badly about that. But a guy wrote in a question basically saying, hey, Jessica Jones had all female directors for season 2 of Jessica Jones. If Luke Cage did that, all these SJW people would be going nuts. Can you imagine what would happen if Luke Cage did that? And I was like, well, here's the funny thing. Luke Cage did do that. And we pulled up this list of all 13 directors of the first season of Luke Cage. All men. Not a single woman was allowed to direct a single episode. Season 1 of Daredevil. All male directors. Not a single woman was allowed to direct. And and then I, juxtapose that against the fact that season 1 of Jessica Jones had pretty much an even split of female directors and male directors. And season 1 of Jessica Jones is one of the most highly critically successful seasons of Netflix Marvel television. So I was like, So how come Jessica Jones and their producers were able to find tons of extremely talented, female directors to direct their show. And it became like the most critically lauded, the most critically applauded season of Netflix Marvel television. How come they were able to find them? And yet for Daredevil, none. For Luke Cage, none. For Iron Fist, out of the 13 episodes, 2 were directed by women. Out of Punisher, despite the fact that the last Punisher movie was directed by a woman, out of Punisher, 2 out of the 13 episodes were directed by women. And yet, when Jessica Jones did it, they found tons of talented female directors that were clearly very good because it's the most critically praised season of any Netflix Marvel show. And yet, none of the rest of the shows could find a single woman. Huh. Yeah, there's just no denying. You cannot deny. The math is simply inexplicable. In poker, we call it mathematically highly improbable. This notion of, oh no, it's just coincidence that out of 26 episodes of Daredevil Season 1 and Luke Cage Season 1, not a single one of them they could find a talented female director. That's what we call a mathematical high improbability in poker. All right? It's highly improbable. So anyway, I don't want to get rolling on that whole thing again, but we still do live in an age where either consciously or subconsciously women are excluded more or not given the equal opportunity that men are given. And I think we will get to the point when it's just we see the talent of a director and that's it. We don't see their gender. We don't see their race. We don't see anything else about them except their pure talent. And that's it. And in the meantime, there are going to be some people that try to push the issue to say, look, we're going to force some female directors on you. We're going to force some, ethnically diverse directors on you so you can finally see that talent is what matters. Not gender, not ethnicity. And it ain't going to be until some people force some of it on us that we're going to go, okay, now we have to acknowledge it. It's forced on our face. Now we have to acknowledge it. And then maybe things can change. But too many people are just comfortable with the status quo, and too many people are fiercely fighting to just keep the status quo. There are people who will fight fiercely to keep women in their place. There are people who will fight fiercely to keep people of different ethnicities and different backgrounds in their place. There are still people in this world who will fight tooth and nail to keep those people in their place and not want to open up the table for more opportunity for more people. But those people are dinosaurs. Those people will be like the people who tried to fight to keep segregation in America so many decades ago. These are the same people who are going to be fighting to make it legal just to fire somebody from a company because we find out they're gay. Can you believe that was legal in this country? If you found out somebody was gay in your company, you were totally legally allowed to fire them from their job if you found out they were gay. Those people were dinosaurs. And those things started to go extinct. These attitudes will also become dinosaurs and will go extinct, and we will progress. So anyway, that's just the way I feel about it. There might be some different opinions or some slightly, like maybe you're on the same side as me in general, but maybe I'm working it out a little bit differently than you, but that is how I see it. I do believe that day will come. I really do. All right. Chris Bradford writes, so would you say Tomb Raider is now the best video game movie ever made? There's an argument. I haven't really sat back to think of it in those terms at this point. There's an argument to be made for it. There is. There is an argument to be made that it is the best quality-wise. It's the best. I mean, my favorite is still Mortal Kombat. But that movie is so dreadfully bad, but I love it. You know what I mean? It's gloriously cheesy and bad. But I think there's an argument to be made that this Tomb Raider might be the best one ever made. But I haven't thought about it in those terms. What I said in my review, I still kind of stand by, which is it's not good enough to break the curse of the perception. And it's not good enough to, make every studio now want to jump up and make video game movies. It's not that good, but it's not bad. And when's the last time we could say that about a video game movie? I mean, really. I enjoyed Warcraft, but I recognize the vast majority of people out there didn't, and that's fine. I got a kick out of it for my own reasons. A lot of other people didn't. That's cool. Assassin's Creed, you certainly couldn't say, not bad. You can't say that about Assassin's Creed. There's a long list of video game movies that you can't even say that about. The fact that we got Tomb Raider and we can legitimately stand back and say, hey, you know what? Not bad. The fact that we can say that is a huge step in the right directions for video game movies. And we'll just see what comes next. Whether it is truly the best video game movie ever made yet, I got to think about that more than just like 5 minutes. So it's possible, though. There is an argument to be made for it. All right. Orange Hand writes, Benedict Cumberbatch's American accent in Doctor Strange felt off to me. Are there any film/TV accents you're not a fan of or think that are just bad? I don't know. I actually thought Benedict's accent wasn't too bad at all. He sounded like an American dude from the Hamptons to me. He didn't sound like normal, regular American dude from, I don't know, from Arizona, but he sounded like a kind of primmy kind of dude from the Hamptons. That's what he came across to me like. But hey, it didn't work for you. Totally cool. I can't really think of a lot of examples of accents gone bad. I mean, the one I always fall back to is Keanu Reeves, and I love Keanu Reeves, but Keanu Reeves's horrible accent in Bram Stoker's Dracula. That is just legendarily bad. But I can't really think of many others off the top of my head that really jump out to me. What do you guys, can you guys think of some obviously badly done accents, whether it's a foreign actor trying to do an American accent or an American actor trying to do some kind of foreign accent? Jump down to the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. What are some bad ones that stand out to you? All right. Adamus95 writes, have you seen the trailer for Bad Samaritan? Thoughts? I don't think I have. I don't think, you know what? Off the top of my head, I'm not even quite sure. Let me just double check here. Bad Samaritan. And that is a movie. Which one is this? With Carrie Condon. Oh, with David Tennant. Huh. Nope. Never, to be honest with you. Oh, no, I take that back. I have heard of this. I have not seen the trailer, though. I have not seen the trailer. I have heard of this movie, but that's the full extent of my exposure to Bad Samaritan. Let's see here. Dean Devlin's directing it. But nope, I don't know anything else beyond that. So sorry, man. Let's see. Oops. Go back to the top. Where are we? Media Fanatic writes, hey, John, thoughts on Charlie Hunnam slash Jax Teller? Well, Jax Teller, Sons of Anarchy is one of my top 3 favorite television shows of all time. Battlestar Galactica is my number 1. And then whether Spartacus or Sons of Anarchy is my number 2 flips back and forth. But Sons of Anarchy is definitely my top 3 favorite television shows ever. I love that show. And the character of Jax Teller is no small reason for that. And I really like Charlie Hunnam in Sons of Anarchy. That being said, quite honestly and frankly, I haven't been overly impressed with him as an actor outside of Sons of Anarchy. I thought he was okay in Pacific Rim. I got a kick out of him in the most recent Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie. There are a lot of people hated on King Arthur. I liked it. I liked King. I thought it was fun. I don't get why everybody hated it so much, but everybody hated it, so that's fine. But even though I liked the movie and I got a big kick out of it, I didn't think he was particularly strong in it. Yeah, so honestly, I don't know that I have fully come on board yet with Charlie Hunnam as an actor. Again, loved him as Jax Teller in Sons of Anarchy, but outside of that, I haven't been, I'm not going to say he's a bad actor or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but I have yet to come fully on board with him. You know, so let me just leave it at that. I've yet to come fully on board with him. I'm still anxious to see him in more stuff. I hope my appreciation for him grows. I'm just saying, honestly, right now, despite the fact that I'm a fan, I got to say I'm not completely on board with him as an actor at this point. Let's see. Media Fanatic then follows that up with also Shazam costume. Doesn't look great to me. Yeah, I'm not so sure it looks so great to me either. I mean, but then again, I'm not going to get too worked up about it because we don't know the context. We don't know the context. That may not actually be the Shazam costume in the movie. Maybe it's just a costume that Billy Bastion sees some guy wearing once, and he kind of envisions Shazam that way. Maybe it's just a cameo. Maybe that costume is just a cameo of the costume. Maybe it's a dream sequence, or what. We simply don't know. We just don't know. So I'm not going to get too worked up about it. If that is, which we don't know, but if it is the actual costume that's used in the movie, there are going to be some people that are very happy that it's very true to the comic books. But to me, that costume is a great example about why staying true to the comic book is not always the best idea. Because it looks silly to me. To be honest, it looks silly. And listen, I mentioned this on the show the other day too. When I look at that Shazam costume, it looked like Zachary Levi has been getting himself in shape for sure. But when you look at that costume, you can tell that's not Zach Levi's arm. That is clearly big padding in his arms and in the shoulders and all that. That's clearly big padding. Now, I'm sure other superhero actors probably use a little bit of padding, but it doesn't look obvious. That costume, it looks silly in live action, and the padding of the muscles looked obvious to me, like distractingly so. So, but again, these are just still pictures leaked from behind the scenes on set without any context. So I'm not going to get worked up about it. I do have some concerns about it, but I'm not going to get worked up yet until we see something official. All right. Chris Martin writes, are you a fan of Chipotle Mexican restaurant? Well, it's funny because right up the street from me, right beside the AMC Burbank 16, which is the movie theater right up the street from where I live and where I go all the time, right beside it, like connected to it, is a Chipotle. I have never eaten in a Chipotle before that Chipotle. And I gotta say, I like that Chipotle. I know there's been a lot of controversy around it. Okay, I don't really know anything about that. All I know is that every once in a while, maybe once every 2 months or so, I'll say, hey, I'll go in there and grab something to eat. And I walk in there, I order some food, usually a chicken and brown rice burrito with avocado, and I eat it, and I find it yummy, and I like it. So all the other stuff aside, yep, a couple times, maybe once every 2 or 3 months, I'll walk in there, order something, eat it, and I'll enjoy what I eat. So to that degree, I'm a fan of Chipotle. Chris Martin also writes, have you seen the Amanda Bynes She's the Man? Oh, geez, like the 2005, 2006 movie? Yeah, I saw that a long time ago. Never really watched it again. Always remember the flashing scene. That was funny. But not a movie that really made an impression on me in any sense of the word. Let's see. George Balega writes, hey, John, big fan from Toronto. From Toronto, the T dot. Since the AMC days, if Avatar 1 gets re-released in theaters before the sequels come out, could it surpass 3 billion? No. Hold on a second. I think it's at what? Like 2.5 billion? 2.78 billion. Okay, so that's higher than I thought, but still, that would require the re-release of Avatar to make nearly 210 million, a little over $210 million in a re-release, and it wouldn't. No, just there's too many people can just watch it at home easily enough. It's not going to make $210 million in a special re-release. It just wouldn't. So I can't see it doing that. I mean, it's closer to it than I thought it was. For some reason, I was thinking 2.5 billion it was at, but it's at 2.78 billion. But that still means it would have to make over 210 million in a re-release. Nah, I don't see it happening. It's certainly not outside of the spectrum of possibility. I just don't think it practically could actually happen. So I don't think so. I'm going to hopefully be in Toronto sometime in late August, early March, or early May, I mean. Hope I'm going to fly out there and see the family. I always fly into Toronto, spend a little bit of time in Toronto. I lived in Toronto for a bit. I love Toronto. Grew up in Hamilton. Brendan Mills writes, when we gonna thumb wrestle? I don't know. Is that a legit challenge, or is that a reference to a movie that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head? Sharan Aurora writes, have you watched Stephen A. Smith rants on YouTube? Well, I mean, I watch a lot of ESPN, so I've seen a lot of Stephen A. Smith rants. He's ridiculous, but I find him entertaining to watch. And, sometimes layered within his ridiculousness, there's actually some pretty good sports insight. But no, I've never watched any Stephen A. Smith on YouTube rant videos. I've just seen him from watching a lot of shows. You know what's funny? I used to watch, what's the name of his show now that he does with the dude from, LA Sports Radio? Was it First Take? That's the name of Stephen A. Smith's show's First Take. And he used to do it with that other dude who's now moved over to Fox Sports. And I always thought their chemistry, like Stephen A. and that other guy, I always thought their chemistry was far better than the chemistry he's got with the new guy. So I haven't watched it a lot since the other guy left, to be honest with you. So anyway, Geo writes, saw Game Night. Oh my God, The Cop. Nice little comedy. Yeah, Game Night is a nice little comedy. I enjoyed Game Night. I laughed quite a bit, and you're right. The next door neighbor cop, one of the highlights of the Jesse Plemons, I think is the actor's name, Jesse Plemons. I believe he was on Breaking Bad for a number of episodes. Anyway, he was great as the next door neighbor. But to me, what really made the film work, besides the comedy itself, was the great chemistry between Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams and the other couples. You know, even the dude and the girl from work. And then there's the other couple, the guy from New Girl. I'm forgetting the actor's name, but the guy from New Girl and his wife in it. They all had such great chemistry together, which made the humor work. And then the humor is what made the movie work. And you're right. It's not one of the great comedies of all time. It's not a great story to it, to be honest with you. But as a comedy, it's a nice little comedy. And if you haven't seen Game Night yet, I recommend it. Go check it out. I think you'll have a good time. Brendan Mills writes, opinion on a remake or reimagining of Equilibrium. You could. I mean, I just don't see there's not a lot of value in the IP. So I don't know that a lot of studios would look at that and say, oh yeah, if we did that, we'll automatically, I think a lot of people wouldn't even know what the hell it is, to be honest with you. So yeah, I'm going to take a pass on that. I don't think anybody would. I don't think they should either. Let's see. Last of the Time Lords writes, what are your thoughts of CM Punk in UFC? He lost his first ever fight to Mickey Gall, but he hasn't quit. Do you think he has a future in UFC or not? Well, here's the thing. When he fought Mickey Gall and Mickey Gall beat him, a lot of people thought, oh, well, he went in there. But guess what? Mickey Gall turned out to be one hell of a fighter. Mickey Gall is for real. Like, he's a really good fighter. And he notched a couple of good wins under his belt. So I think as time has passed, we realize that loss CM Punk had to Mickey Gall wasn't as embarrassing as maybe it first looked like. But here's the reality. CM Punk, hold on a second. Let me just double check it. CM Punk is going to turn 40 years old this year. He's turning 40. That's a tough age to start a UFC career. All right. That's a really tough age to start. Now, if you've already been in the game a long time and you're somebody like a Randy Couture or you're somebody like George St. Pierre, you can probably fight into your 40s because you are so already honed to it and tuned to it that you can do it. Starting a UFC career at that age is tough. So would I like to see him take another crack at it? Yeah, I would love to see CM Punk take another crack at it because honestly, seeing how easily Mickey Gall beat some other guys, I don't actually think CM Punk did all that bad, but I would be down to seeing him have another fight. But can he have a career in the UFC? I think the answer to that is no. No, he would have had to start training really 10 years ago, and he didn't, so I don't think so. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Ethan Hunt, and Ethan Hunt writes, hey, John, you've turned me on to my new favorite show, Supernatural. Oh, I'm so glad. I love Supernatural. Me and my sis binged the first 7 seasons in 2 months. That's a lot of shows, man, to watch in 2 months. Have to admit, though, not really liked the seasons since then. Well, yeah, after season 7, for some people, it slumps a little bit. I still appreciated season 8, season 9, stuff like that. But for some people, the show slumped for a little bit. It resurges. Like, I'm really liking what they're doing right now, and I quite liked last season. But there was a season or 2 there that people felt it slumped a little bit, but I still enjoyed them. And I think if you get through those, you're going to find the show takes an upswing as well. So I'm really glad you got involved with it. Yeah. And you know what? I was late to the party on Supernatural. I think I started watching it around season 4 and I just got hooked on it. And I got hooked into the characters of Sam and Dean and their chemistry and just the banter and the dialogue. I just like sitting down for an hour and hanging out with Sam and Dean Winchester. And, you know, whether it's Castiel that's along with them, whether it's, what was the name of the King of Hell again? Why am I forgetting his name? The King of Hell. He was my favorite character on television for forever. Crowley, thank you. Whether it's Azrael, what why am I freezing? Where was I going with that? I forget where I was going with that. But anyway, love the show. I'm glad you started watching it. Okay. Ben Jesusa writes, or Hey Sousa is probably, how's it going, John? Been a minute. Cannot wait for that new Infinity War trailer tomorrow. Definitely going to watch it over and over. Well, don't say that. What if it sucks? I mean, look, the likelihood of it sucking is very small, but it might suck. Never know. Could be a terrible trailer. It is certainly possible that it could be a terrible trailer. I wouldn't put any money on that, but it's possible. It is possible. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. Can't wait to see what they're going to show us. Hope they don't show us too awful much, but give us enough to give us an idea of the overall story. It's, but yes, the likelihood is we're all going to watch it about 20 times. That is the likelihood. All right, Ethan Hunt follows up. Have you seen or heard anyone talk about the Shannara Chronicles? I thought about watching, but I've not heard anyone talk about it, good or bad. You know what? Yes, I watched the first season of the Shannara Chronicles, and I kind of liked it. I actually thought it was pretty good. Actually, let me pull something up here. How do we spell that again? Shannara Chronicles. Okay, so the thing about the Shannara Chronicles, the reason I started watching it is because you guys know that I know Manu Bennett, who was in Spartacus. He was the one-handed white orc in the Hobbit films. He's a Deathstroke in the Arrow TV series, and he was one of the lead characters in the Shannara Chronicles. And so I decided to check it out and watch it because I know him, because he's been on a panel. He stayed with me at Comic-Con. He's a good dude. I like him a lot. And you know what? I kind of liked it. I did. It's clearly low budget. It's lower budget than what it aspires to be, because it aspires to be this big fantasy epic, but it doesn't have the budget to be a big fantasy epic. And you can tell that. But still, the storytelling itself, I dug it. I had a good time with it. I enjoyed watching. I never got around to watching season 2 because I forgot all about it by the time they finally aired season 2. I think I heard it got canceled after season 2. I could be wrong about that. But I'd say give season 1 a shot. Look, give season 1 maybe 3 episodes. If you're not on board with it after 3 episodes, abandon it because it's probably not for you. But I think it's worth giving a shot. I do. Okay, let's see. Next one comes to us from Chris Martin, who writes, favorite Star Wars prequel soundtrack. Mine is Revenge of the Sith. The whole score is amazing. I'll go with Revenge of the Sith as well. Overall, it's probably the least offensive of all the Star Wars prequels. I refuse to call it my favorite. I'll call it the least offensive. But the soundtrack is actually quite good. And I have sat down and listened to the soundtrack a few times. So I agree with you. I'm going to go with the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack. The Last of the Time Lords writes, hey, Mr. Campea, I love the Friday movies. Do you think... Oh, the Friday movies. Got it. Do you think we will get another Friday movie with Ice Cube, Mike Epps, and John Witherspoon returning? I wouldn't doubt it. Everything is about, right now, whether it's reviving Will and Grace, whether it's about reviving Roxanne, whether it's about reviving this or reviving that, everything seems to be in a mode of reviving everything right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they revived did another Friday movie. I mean, I can understand why they wouldn't. There are financial realities here that make it so it wouldn't happen. Ice Cube's a busy dude. So I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I wouldn't count against it. I would not bet against it. I think there's a very real chance that something like that could happen. I wouldn't be surprised of it at all. All right, move on now to Geo. And Geo writes, I love A24. They produce a lot of good, genuine films. Yeah, they put out some crap too, but you know what? They put out some damn good movies. So, matter of fact, earlier today I did an installment of the companion videos where I answer all the questions that I didn't have time to answer on the live shows. And somebody brought up Hereditary. That's a little horror film that's done by A24 that just played at South by Southwest. And it stars Toni Collette. And it looks bonkers. Looks creepy as hell. And the reviews have been outstanding for it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Again, another A24 film. But yeah, A24 has just got this way of really identifying some really good stories. They're kind of like Blumhouse in a way. You guys might hear a little bit of a buzz. It's getting warm in here, so I'm going to turn on my fan a little bit. I apologize for any noise it makes. But A24 has kind of like Blumhouse a little bit now, just really specializing in making these lower budget films that have great story impact and having some good success with them. And you're right, they're doing some really, really good stuff. All right, next one comes to us from Rodrigo Ramirez, who writes, I was watching Joe Rogan talk about how to make decisions with fights better. Add more judges, have judges that have some fight experience so they know what they're looking for. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, look, judging anything that's subjective, I mean, it's always tough when a UFC fight goes to the judges' scorecards. Like when a fight does not end in a knockout or submission and it goes to the judges' scorecards, you just never know what's going to happen. I have seen some crazy decisions, some just crazy decisions in the UFC. I mean, but you can't get around it. You have to have judging. You can't, you're going to put people's lives on the line, say, no, just keep fighting until somebody gets knocked out or submitted. You're putting people's lives in danger at that point. But so there's always going to be judging, but they have to come up with ways to make judging better and more accurate. A couple of Joe's suggestions, not bad. Certainly the more judges you have, the less impact a stupid judge will have on the, because right now with just 3 judges, one stupid judge can change the outcome of an entire fight. Whereas if you have like 6 judges or 7 judges, having one stupid judge, that's fine. You got a bunch of other smart judges who know how to rule the fight. Like the fight between Michael Bisping and, which was it the Michael Bisping fight? Anyway, the fight with Anderson Silva. No, it was Michael Bisping. So the Michael Bisping-Anderson Silva fight that Michael Bisping won was a ridiculous decision. Absolutely ridiculous decision. Michael Bisping did not win that fight, but according to the judges' scorecards, he won. But anyway, there's a bunch of fights we could all go to. Yeah, I think Joe Rogan is I think it's going to take more than just that, but I like where he's thinking. I do. Eddie Mason writes, watching earlier, you mentioned that Meek is alive. I realized that Taika took a swing at the Marvel useless death trope. Thor 3 is fantastic. Yeah, Thor 3 is fantastic. And you're right. Taika Waititi took a little bit of a swing. It's Marvel making fun of itself, and I like that. And obviously, he couldn't do it unless Kevin Feige approved it. And I think that's Marvel making a little bit fun of themselves. That, for those of you who forget what we're talking about, remember near the end of Thor 3, Thor goes, Meek, which world did you say you're from? And Korg goes, oh, Meek's dead. Yeah, I've been carrying him around all day because I felt so bad about it. And then Meek wakes up and goes, oh, Meek, you're alive. Meek's alive, everybody. So maybe it wasn't, but I always took that as Marvel and Taika making fun of themselves about the dead, not dead thing, the fake death thing that Marvel has had a problem with before. And I always took that as Marvel poking a little bit of fun at themselves for it. So yes, I completely thought that was, and yes, I love Thor 3. Thor Ragnarok is bloody entertaining as hell. I love that movie. Angel Chang writes, but John, do you know the way my Buddha? Don't know what that means. Clearly that's a reference to something, but it's going right over my head. So nope, I don't know the way to Buddha. Danko Clock writes, movies that really disturbed you. For whatever reason, a bunch of people have been asking me that kind of question the last couple of days. Detroit is one of the most recent ones that I saw that came out in 2017. I thought it was a brilliant movie, loved it, but I could never watch it again. I found it really difficult to watch because of how hard-hitting it was, and it's very disturbing. Stereotypically, Schindler's List is stereotypical one, but that's one that is really hard to watch and difficult to get through. And I'm sure there are a few others, but those are the ones that come off at the top of my head. Manuel Fernandez writes, what's a movie you thought was mediocre overall, but the last 10 to 15 minutes were so good it made the film entirely worth seeing? No idea. That's the type of question, Manuel, that I would literally have to sit down and think about, probably for about 10 or 15 minutes to come up with something. It's not something I have as a list off the top of my head. It's a good question, but it's just not something I can answer off the top of my head. Last of the Time Lords writes, hey, Mr. Campea, do you think we will get an Eddie Murphy resurgence, as I think he is one of the funniest men alive and would love for him to make a comeback? I don't. I think that the time for that, there were opportunities for that to happen, and it didn't happen. Whether it's him who shot his own career in the foot or not, he is at one time was one of the funniest guys, if not the undisputed funniest guy in the business. There was a good chunk of time when he was that guy, but for whatever reason, that time has come and gone. I do not think we're going to get a resurgence. I think there was an opportunity for Eddie Murphy resurgence about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And for whatever reason, either he or other people didn't want to take advantage of that for him to have a resurgence. But I don't know. Look, maybe he should do what Dave Chappelle did. You know, Dave Chappelle just burst back onto the scene by doing a Netflix comedy, a stand-up comedy special. I would love it if tomorrow we found out Netflix announces in September an all-new Eddie Murphy stand-up comedy concert special on Netflix. I think the world would lose their minds if we found out that was going to happen. I would love it. But just more and more, I feel like the clock on that has come and gone. But who knows? We'll have to just wait and see. All right. This next one comes to us from Tinosvlado Mendoza, who writes, I agree with feeling emotional with fatter. You probably mean father. I agree with feeling emotional with father/son stuff in Man of Steel. Recently, I watched The Accountant again. JK's I was a great dad, a terrible agent, but I didn't mess that up. I always worry about not doing good as a father. Dude, look, I'm not a dad yet. And maybe that's one of the reasons. You know, I've heard somebody once say, like, if you had a great dad, then that will make you more confident in your ability to be a father. Not me, man. I have a great dad. And that just makes me feel like I can never measure up to my dad. And that's a totally unhealthy way of thinking, but I had a great dad, and it makes me go like, oh my God, like I know I'm not as good of a man as my dad is, so I'm not going to be as good of a father as my dad. And then I feel terrified and I feel petrified. And maybe as a son, that is one of the reasons why I just really adore when movies really on an emotional level look at issues between fathers and sons. Whether it's in something like just an action film like The Accountant, whether it's in something like Man of Steel, whether it's in another comic book movie like a Thor Ragnarok, whether it's in a deeper drama or whatever, when shows or movies tackle issues of fathers and sons, there's something about that I find very attractive and that I instantly gets my attention. And maybe it's because I respect my own father so much. Maybe it's because I'm so terrified about the idea of being a dad myself because I'm afraid I'm going to screw up a human being's life. I don't know what it is, but I completely agree with you. And that's one of the things, like everybody always tells me, the most scariest thing that anybody can conceive of is becoming a parent, be it a mother or a father. And I can certainly relate with that. Man. I am with you 100% on that. Great question. All right. Next one comes to us from Jazanthan, who writes, I liked The Amazing Spider-Man 2 more than you did, even though I see the flaws. One more thing I think being overlooked is the scene between Peter and Aunt May. It's an Oscar-level acting, in my opinion. Depends on which scene you're talking. I can't quite remember which scene you're talking about between him and Aunt May. I mean, obviously, you had Sally Field playing Aunt May. So you have one of the all-time most beloved actresses in Hollywood. So that helps the situation quite a bit. And you know what? I didn't hate The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I know a lot of people hated it. I didn't hate it. I agree that I thought it was a big step down from the first Amazing Spider-Man. I loved the first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I thought it was great. I really do. Not as good as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, no, but I did think it was wonderful. And I thought The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Electro took a big step down. I agree with that. But Sally Field was a great Aunt May. I thought Andrew Garfield was a great Peter Parker. I thought Emma Stone was great. I really overall enjoyed a lot about the series. It is unfortunate that the second one took such a downward slide that it killed the franchise and they decided to reboot again. Then again, rebooting again gave us the Tom Holland Spider-Man, which is also great and wonderful. See? Rebooting can work, DC. See? Anyway. But yeah, I'm glad. Look, you're not the only one, man, who has an appreciation for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I know a number of people who actually quite enjoy that film, and I'm glad you're able to talk about it. Again, I feel bad that I can't remember the exact scene you're referring to between Peter and Aunt May, because there are a number of scenes in the movie, but maybe if I watch it again, it'll remind me about which scene that is in particular. Gareth Tucson writes, why did Luke want the Jedi to end? Because for 1,000 generations, it was keepers of the peace. Did he hope for someone else to stop Kylo/Snoke? Help me out. Well, I mean, the movie pretty much explains that itself in pretty clear ways. Luke felt that Jedi were part of the problem. That's ultimately what he thought. I mean, and I think the movie made that very clear. Luke saw that the Jedi were part of the problem. And his belief was that getting involved as Luke Skywalker, as the last Jedi, getting involved with the whole Snoke and Kylo situation, he believed it would just make the situation worse. Either he would cause something horrible to happen, or he himself would become something horrible. Remember, he struggled that time that he almost killed Kylo because he thought, this kid is going to cause genocides across multiple worlds. He's going to be responsible for the deaths of millions, just like my father Darth Vader was. I need to take his life. I need to kill him. And he almost did that. And that is the fact that he didn't do it, but the fact that he almost did it haunts him and troubles him. And I think, so there are two things. One, he thinks getting involved will just make it worse. Two, he's afraid he will become the nightmare. Because he saw it happen to his dad. He saw it happen to Kylo. He read about how the hubris of the Jedi led to the rise of the Empire in the first place. All that and more. I mean, the movie's pretty clear about why Luke was in a position in a very dark place, feeling like, I think it's just best for the Jedi to get wiped out entirely. It's totally understandable. I thought that was a brilliant part of that movie, to be honest with you. All right. Last of the Time Lords follows up with, who is the best on-screen Hercules? Kevin Sorbo, Kellen Lutz, The Rock, Lou Ferrigno. I say Kevin Sorbo. He will always be Hercules, in my opinion. Well, I mean, Kevin Sorbo's was also a very different kind of Hercules, right? I got a big kick out of Hercules. What was it called? The Legendary Journey, or whatever the full name of the show was. I got a kick out of the show. I liked watching it. I liked Kevin Sorbo. Kevin Sorbo was an incredibly charismatic performer. Like, he just had so much natural charm and playing Hercules. That was a very different Hercules than the Kevin Lutz Hercules or the Lou Ferrigno Hercules. And forgive me, Arnold played Hercules once, did he not? Hold a second. Let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure Arnold Schwarzenegger Hercules. This always takes me a second to remember how to spell Schwarzenegger. Yeah, that's right. Arnold Schwarzenegger played Hercules in Hercules in New York. I forgot about that. So you left out Arnold too. I'll go with The Rock. I'll go with The Rock's incarnation of Hercules. Not that it was the best movie. I think I liked Legendary, but I don't know, man. There's a good argument to be made for Kevin Sorbo. There's a good argument to be made for Kevin Sorbo too. Good question. I think right off the top of my head, I'd lean towards The Rock, but I might change my mind and go Kevin Sorbo instead. All right, let's go to what's next. Bomb Squad writes, would you compare the size of an AMC Prime screen closer to IMAX or regular? Want to know if it's at least close to an IMAX size before I buy Infinity War tickets. No. Even most IMAX screens aren't the size of a, 75 millimeter IMAX screen. Because remember, when you say IMAX screen, I would ask you which one. The smaller size IMAX screens that there's way more of them in the United States, or are you talking the original big, huge monster IMAX screens? Because the AMC Prime screen, I think it's just a little bit larger than your normal screen. It's just a little bit larger than normal. It's close to the smaller IMAX screens. What makes the AMC Prime movie theater experience better, in my opinion, over the IMAX screen is that while the IMAX screen has a larger screen and like higher resolution, the AMC Prime screen uses the Dolby double laser projection system, which simply gives you the most color dynamic range I have ever seen. The deepest darks, the brightest whites, the richest colors. I've never seen anything like it before in a movie theater. I have never seen anything like it before. And while there are advantages to the IMAX screens, I don't think the advantages of the IMAX screens come anywhere close to the advantages of those Dolby dual laser projection systems, compounded with the Dolby Atmos sound system, the leather reclining seats. It's just, to me, the AMC Prime experience is a far superior experience. I'll take the IMAX experience over a regular movie theater experience, sure. But when it comes to comparing an IMAX experience to a Prime, I'll take the Prime every day of the week. I will. And I don't even get paid by AMC anymore. And I will take the AMC Prime Theater any day of the week. It's my favorite movie-going experience watching it in a Prime. All right. Next one comes us from Corey Timmons, who writes, "Hey, John, you're great." Thank you so much, Corey. I just started watching you, man. You're great. What is your favorite season of Supernatural? Mine is season 5. The end with the brothers is fantastic. I think, like most people, my favorite season, and I cannot remember if it was season 5, 6, or 7, but is the season that ends with Sammy ending up in the cage in hell. It's the conclusion of the Michael Lucifer, them trying to avoid the war and stop the battle between Michael and Lucifer, which, would wipe out a third of the world's population, all that kind of stuff. That to me was probably my favorite season. But there have been a number of seasons since that have come close to that for me. But yeah, I quite like. I think probably my least favorite season was the one with the Leviathan. The Leviathan season is probably my least favorite one. But yeah, that one where they finally stop the battle between Michael and Lucifer and Sam ends up in the cage, that's to me my favorite. That's my favorite one. And thanks for being a viewer, Corey. Appreciate having you along. Bomb Squad writes, Hawkeye lack of marketing equals Hawkeye is the Soul Stone. No, as a matter of fact, it's funny because an article just came out today with an interview with, oh my God, why am I forgetting the name of the guy who plays Hawkeye? Anyway, with an interview with him where he says that Hawkeye actually has his own side mission in Infinity War. It's like, ooh, really? So yeah, lack of marketing may be a little bit of a misdirect. We'll have to see. Not because he's the Soul Stone, but it might be a little bit of a misdirect at this point. We'll have to see when we see the movie in about 6 weeks. ZOMG Ruler writes, over under 50%. Fans stop seeing Warner Brothers films due to DCEU. Oh, what? Stop seeing Warner Brothers films because of the DCEU? Oh, I'll take a 0 on that. Warner Brothers puts out way too good of films. Warner Brothers is a fabulous studio. Just a wonderful Hollywood studio. They put out a ton of great films. Have they struggled with their DCEU? Sure. But it would be idiotic to, just because somebody isn't succeeding with the DCEU, to ditch all the other great films that they put out. That's just ridiculous talk. That's ridiculous talk. I'll take the under on that. I'm sure there is some moron out there who will, but as far as any legitimate number of people or significant number of people, no. No, and that wouldn't solve anything anyway. It would be ridiculous. You're not a film fan if you did that. You're simply not a film fan if you did that. Manuel Fernandez writes, what's an action movie quote that always gives you chills whenever it comes on? For me, it's "Get away from her, you bitch." Oh, yes, from Aliens. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I mean, it's not in an action scene, but my all-time action film is True Lies. And there's a scene with Tom Arnold and Arnold Schwarzenegger where Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tom Arnold saw that Arnold's daughter was stealing money out of one of their pockets in the other room. And Tom Arnold goes, you know what? You know what she's stealing that money for? Probably for an abortion. I just crack every time I hear that line. So it's not an action line per se, but it's from an action movie. So yeah, I'm going to go with that one. Again, if I sit down and think about it for a while, maybe I can think of some better ones, but off the top of my head, that's what I got off the top of my head. Okay. TWJ78 writes, is the problem with the DCU critics' hate of Snyder? Okay, let's try this again. Is the problem with the DCEU? Oh, is the problem with DCEU critics' hate of Snyder critics? I just don't understand what you're trying to write here. Let me try it again. Is the problem, with DCEU critics' hate of Snyder critics said Superman, Batman, and the world were too different, but praise The Last Jedi because the characters in the world felt different? Okay, I think I see what you're going for here. And you're making up a scenario. People, look, maybe you'll find one or two people. Critics didn't dislike Batman versus Superman because it's too different. No critic just said, you know what? I don't like this movie because it's too different. None of them said that. Maybe you can find one or two critics, but out of the 1,000 critics out there, that's not why they disliked it. They disliked it for a madrid of other reasons. it's not that. And I know there's it's this made up thing that's just common. It's like, people just said they hated it because it was too different. No, nobody actually said that. And I'm a Batman versus Superman defender. And I never heard anybody say they didn't like Batman versus Superman because it's too different. Never heard anybody say that. That's a myth that some people make up to feel better about the fact that some critics don't like their movie. It's just not a reality. Now, yes, you're going to find in some criticisms, people find 20 different faults with the Batman versus Superman and maybe say, this isn't the Batman versus Superman I was expecting. They might say that on top of it, but you can't just ignore all 20 other points they made and then just focus on that one point and say, oh, he didn't like it because it's different. No, that's not what the critic was saying. The critic listed 20 different things they thought were not good about the movie, and this might have been one of the points, maybe, that kind of suggests that a little bit, but for you to take that and say, that's why the critics didn't like it. That's not true. That's just a group of people coming up with excuses to make themselves feel better that critics didn't like a movie that they like. And what I'm trying to constantly impress on people is that you don't need anything to make yourself feel better about that. Who cares if other people like or don't like what you like? Who cares? You know, I'm constantly talking about movies that I like that nobody else does. I don't care if hey, I acknowledge that other people don't like it. I think it's legitimate that they like it or don't like it. I don't make up excuses for why they do or don't like it. Hey, if they didn't like it, that sucks. I wish they did. Damn you for not liking it. But hey, like Star Wars: Last Jedi. I like Star Wars: Last Jedi. I think it's really good. I have my problems with it, but it's really good. Bunch of other people don't like it. Damn, that sucks. I wish they liked it too. But I'm not going to make up excuses about why they don't like it. I mean, some people revealed themselves. Like, it's not making it. There are some people who just flat out revealed themselves that they didn't like it because it's women in the lead. And they didn't like it because there's a black dude in it. There are just some ignorant assholes out there who just revealed themselves and just outright admitted it. That's why they didn't like it. They outed themselves. But as far as the majority of people, just honest movie fans who just honestly didn't like The Last Jedi, no need to make a big excuse for them. I don't need to come up with an excuse for why you didn't like a movie for me to feel okay about the fact that I do like the movie. I like the movie, and that's all that matters to me. I acknowledge that you didn't like it. I acknowledge that there are reasons you didn't like it. That's great. And we can still be friends. But there are still people out there who feel the need to come up with excuses for why other people didn't like movies that they like in order for them to feel okay about themselves. And you don't need to do that. It's fine. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Okay, I got time for like 2 more here. And then guys, any other questions that I don't get around to here, I will address tomorrow on the companion video, okay? So any other questions I don't get around to here today, I will address. I will take these questions, I will copy them down, and I will answer them on tomorrow's companion video. All right. TWJ78 writes, critics hate that Superman killed Zod, but in Superman 2, he threw a powerless Zod off a cliff for no reason. Yeah, no, hey, I'm with you on that. A lot of people hated the fact that Superman killed Zod. And I try to tell people, I mean, hey, man, Superman has killed people in the comic books. And Superman was in a position where he had no choice but to kill Zod. It's either kill Zod or let Zod kill millions of people. That was his choice. Don't tell me that Superman would have accepted the choice of just letting Zod kill millions of people. No way. He was in a position as a dude who's been Superman for about 48 hours against a lifelong military guy. He either killed him or let him kill that family and then let him kill millions of other people. There was just no way around it. But I mean, hey, that was equal. That wasn't just crit. That was fans. That was fans hated that. That was DC fans who hated that. There was a lot of people who hated that, and I thought it was great. I love Man of Steel, man. All right. Ben Davis writes, oops, a lot more questions came in. I'm going to have a lot of questions to address tomorrow. Okay. Ben Davis, and this will be the final question of the day. Ben Davis writes, you're my hero. Thank you for everything you do. Well, thank you so much, Ben. That's very kind of you to say. But I'll take one more since that wasn't really a question. But thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate that. Last of the Time Lords gets the last question here today. And he writes, I would love to see a biopic of the WWE Montreal Screwjob. It was a fascinating story of WWE behind the scenes. Well, that's really not a biopic then. Like, that would be a movie about an event. A biopic to me, and this kind of came up on the show last week, I think. Somebody saying, have you noticed that biopics don't really tell the stories about their whole lives anymore, but rather about like 1 week or something like that? And to me, that's not a biopic is the life story of a certain person, following them from a certain age through a course of years and years and years and following their life. That's to me a biopic. It's a biography. The Montreal Screwjob is a story about an event, but it's not a biopic. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's based on a true story, to me, that's not a biopic. That's just a movie about an event. And yes, a movie about the Montreal Screwjob would be fascinating. I would love to see that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today, for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you for being here and joining me and coming along for the ride with me. It's always fun talking about movies opinions, movies ideas, all that kind of stuff. I give my opinions, but that doesn't mean you guys have to share my opinions. I'm hoping a lot of you guys have different opinions than me and have different thoughts. That's what makes it fun being a film fan, is that we have different points of view, different ideas, different opinions. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for being here. Listen, don't forget, make sure you click the thumbs up button on this video. Share it around if you'd like. Make sure you leave a comment below if you'd like to share a thought or an opinion about something. Remember, if you're debating with somebody, because being a film fan is about debating, it's awesome, but just make sure to remember, we're all on the same team. We're fellow film fans. So make sure you're debating in a respectful way with each other. That's all I ask. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until tomorrow morning's John Campea Show, bye-bye.